All right, guys, it's Brian again. And so today, what I'm going to do is I want to start a little series with Christmas coming up. I was thinking about maybe doing what I'm going to call the 12 days of shaving instead of the 12 days of Christmas. Getting a little late start on this. So it's actually going to bleed over past Christmas. But I really want to try to give back as much to the community as what I kind of feel has been given to me. And so I was actually looking through some notes today that I had put together and given to my brother when I was converting him to DE shaving. And I thought, that'd be really great. Those talking points, I think, are something. It's their tips and tricks and techniques and things like that I've gleaned, over a couple of years of being involved in this hobby. And so I'm going to just go through those and do a couple of quick videos, actually 12 quick videos over the next 12 days, hopefully. Just talk about some of these things. So I'm going to start out today by talking about razors. And I am by no means an expert in this. There are guys that are far more knowledgeable about, all of the ins and outs of this, but I just want to kind of give a high-level overview as far as the different types of razors that are available, especially when you're new and getting into the hobby. It can kind of be overwhelming because there's just so many different choices with regards to razors and kind of where do you start. So. Let me just show you what I started with. This was my first razor. This is an Edwin Jagger DE89, and my first razor. And it's still I've got over 30 some odd razors now, and this is still one of my favorite razors. This is what we would consider a modern razor, still manufactured today. It's fairly simple. You screw the handle off, the head comes apart, and you put the blade between these two pieces, and the handle just screws right back on. So very, very simple construction. And this is about a little over $30, maybe close to $40. Beautiful razor, and absolutely love it. Now, Magyar razors makes razors, their line of razors, which I believe are based on the head of this razor. And the beautiful thing about this for somebody starting out is this is a fairly mild razor. And I'll talk a little bit in a little bit here about what makes a razor mild and not. But they make versions of this, and I'm wanting to say they're like less than $20. Matador is a line of razors from Razor Blades and More. Beautiful razors, modern razors, and again, they're somewhere in the $20 to $30 range, and beautiful, beautiful razors. So definitely, the modern razors that are being made are great starting points, and I would highly recommend them, especially the ones that are based on the DE89 style head. This is a great entry razor for somebody that's getting into the hobby. But I've been doing this now. This Christmas makes my 2-year anniversary of shaving, in the traditional wet shaving style, and this is still in my top 5 razors. Very comfortable shave, and I really, really like it. So the other thing I wanted to point out about this is what is called a closed bar razor. So you can see that the bar on this is closed. And I wanted to kind of show that versus an older style Gillette here. This is a ball end new, I believe, is the name of this razor. And you can see that this actually has an open comb style. Now, there are modern versions of the open comb style. Matador, I know, makes one, or Razor Blades and More. The Phoenix accoutrements, they just released a new one that looks really, really awesome. But that's the difference. You've got the open comb with, the kind of the teeth are exposed there, and then you have a closed bar. Now the difference between this is that this is going to allow for a little bit more for the lather to lubricate the blade a little bit more. Where with a closed bar like this here, it kind of pulls the lather away a little bit more. And also, I find that these open combs are a little bit more aggressive. You can see that there's a little bit more blade gap, a little bit more blade exposure. I don't have a blade in this right now, but you would see that there's definitely more blade exposure here than there is on this. So you're going to get more blade against your face with this razor, at least I do, than I do with my DE89. So that's the difference between the open comb and the closed or the, I think they call maybe straight bar or something like that, style razors. And I honestly, for somebody who's starting out, I would recommend you go with more of this style than an open comb. That's just my personal recommendation. But this is definitely a hobby where your mileage may vary, and whatever floats your boat and gets you going is going to work great. In the DE double-edged razor, there's also again, this was a modern version, and this open comb here is a vintage style razor. And going with the vintage style razors is definitely a great way and a fairly inexpensive way to get into the hobby. You can get Ball & Tex and for $10 or less at some antique shops. And so definitely the overall design of these haven't changed much since Gillette patented this back in the early 1900s. So vintage razors are, a great way to get started. And I have a number of them. I'm not going to show them all to you. I just want to kind of show you a couple of different options. So this here again, this one here, this open comb, this I believe it's called a Ball & New. I think it's around 1950. I don't know the exact date on this one here. Early 1920s maybe. But this, again, this is a three-piece construction, just like my Edwin Jagger is. It comes apart, three pieces. It's actually got a blade in it, and you just sandwich the blade between the two, and it screws right on once you get it all lined up. It's out of alignment there, but okay, there we go. Boom. And now it's lined up and ready to shave. But then you have what are called TTO, or twist to open razors. This here happens to be a Fat Boy, a Gillette Fat Boy, and I actually picked this up in a lot of razors at an auction, at a local auction. The whole lot of razors cost me $16, and this was in there. I was so happy, excited to find it. And not only does this open and close like that with the twist to open, but this is also a little different in that this has a little dial on here. And right now, where's the marker? There's the marker right there. I have it set on 4. And I don't usually change this too much. But what happens is by changing that and opening it up, it opens up the gap between the blade and the bar. And so that's going to allow for more, for the razor to take off more of the hair as it passes, and so it's going to make it a little bit more what we would call aggressive when you use it. For me, I don't like to go super aggressive. I like to have mine at a 4. I played around with this, and I just found that 4 works for me. That's what I like, and I don't vary too much from it. To be honest with you, the whole adjusting thing for me, isn't I'm not somebody that's going to adjust it back and forth. I've got it at 4, and I don't ever change it. But so that's the difference in it. Now there were a number of versions of this that Gillette put out, the slim adjustables, and I can't remember. There's other guys, again, like I said, that know more of the history of this. but just kind of giving you an understanding of what the different options are and kind of what they do. To me, you know, I like the TTO style, but does this necessarily shave to me any better than this? I don't know. It shaves. It does a great job. I love it. They both have their pluses and minuses, I guess, and it just kind of depends on what mood I'm in during the day. These, again, are all double-edged safety razors, right? So in traditional wet shaving, there are basically, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 different types of razors. You have the double edge, which take the double edge safety razors. You have single edged razors like this one here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You know, there's different style of single edge, and we'll discuss that here in a minute. And then you get into your shavettes and your straight razors. Now, I have not gotten into that, and I probably never will. I understand that shavettes aren't, you know, when you master shavette, it's not like you're going to be able to go to straight and necessarily feel like, oh, boom, I've got it. I've heard that they're two different, totally different beasts. I haven't done anything with that. There's plenty of guys out there that are straight razor shaving, and they'd be the best ones to talk to you about that. So those aside, you know, again, we're talking the double-edged safety razors and the single-edge. So in the single-edged area, you have ones like this. This is a gem Micromatic, and again, this is a TTO. You screw on the bottom, the top opens up, the blade goes in here. Now again, it's a single-edged blade because you have just one cutting edge on your blade, and it fits into here quite nicely, and you close it up, and bada bing, bada boom, ready to shave. Now this, obviously you can see, this has quite a different angle, and so you're going to have to you know, approach your face a little bit differently with this, and we're going to talk about technique in another episode. But the angle on your face with this blade is going to be significantly different than with the double-edged blades. In the single-edged space, you have a lot of vintage, which you have the gem Micromatics. There's quite a number of other vintage single-edged razors that take this style of blade. But you also have the Valet Auto Strop, which was a really cool style of razor that actually took a proprietary blade, and a strop would go back and forth, and you could strop your blade by moving the strop back and forth. Now, they don't make those blades anymore, but Feather makes a single-edged blade, and it fits in most, not all, in most auto strops, and you just put it in there, and then by moving that, it puts the blade in there. Now you can see this compared to that, there is quite a bit more blade gap than there is on my gem, and quite a bit more blade exposure as far as what's going to be up against your face. I find that this does, for me, this doesn't shave anywhere near as comfortably as this does. But again, all of this is so much personal preference. There are guys I know that love shaving with the auto strops. For me, it's like the worst shave ever. I might as well shave with a butter knife. Every once in a while, I'll shave with it just to remind myself of why I don't. Love having it in my den. I've got a whole bunch of these. I got like 2 or 3 different versions of this. One of which actually doesn't even work with the feather blades. But okay, that's another option as far as a single edge. Now, there are a couple of new manufacturers that are making single edge, one of them being the Mongoose. I haven't tried any of the modern single-edged razors, but you know, I hear guys absolutely love them. And there's some guys, like Brian Sharp is one of them from Razor and Brush. Tim, I'm trying to remember his last name. He always has great, high quality and very classy shave of the days. He's a big proponent of the single edge. And I find that with these single edge razors, I actually get a much closer shave than I do with my double edge in the same number of passes. So that's the single edged with this particular style of blade, and then the single edged with the feather single edge, or the Valet Auto Strop with the feather blade. Now there's another style of single edge blade that is really, really cool that I really, really like, and that is the Schick injectors. Now I have a number of these. This happens to be, I believe, a Type E. I have a Type F, which is a fairly rare version. It was only made for a couple of years in, I think, 41 and 42 before World War II, and it's got really a cool Art Deco look to it. But this is the Schick injector, and the way this works is there's actually, I should have grabbed it, but there's actually a blade cartridge that you stick in the side of here, and when you do, and you press a button or slide a lever, so to speak, it actually will push the blade that's loaded in there, and it'll push it right out the side. Now these came in a number of different styles, a number of different versions of this over many, many, many years. Some of them were closed comb like this. There were some that were open comb, but this is another version of a single-edged vintage razor, and these are very, very great shavers for me. I enjoy them. Again, you can see the difference in the angle of how that's going to be more, straight against your face. You can see the difference in angle between the handles and versus, a double-edged safety razor. So it's going to shave a little bit differently, provide a different style of shave, but still a very good shave for me. I enjoy these. My newest acquisition in that particular area is what's called this is a Type C repeating razor. Now this is a travel razor, and it actually comes in a nice case here. Take this end off, and the head actually swivels around like that. And you actually take the same blades that go in this, you take them out of the cartridge that you would use to load them into this, and they actually go into the right here. There's a cartridge that you load them into in here, and then to load the blade, you swivel this around, pull back on this lever. I'm not going to pull all the way back because I don't want to load a new one, and it'll pick up the blade, and then when you push it ahead, it actually pushes the old blade out. Very cool. I love this razor just because of the cool factor in it, but this is an awesome, awesome shaver. It's got a great heft to it, but it just shaves like a dream. I just absolutely love this. It's become obviously my travel razor. I travel quite a bit for work. I mean, not as much as I know some people. I wouldn't consider myself a road warrior, but I travel more now than I used to. And this has become my travel razor. Now I've never flown with it. I don't think you could. I think they would give you an issue with it, so I would not try to fly with this. But most of my traveling for work is business is within driving distance. So this is my travel. Love this razor. And if you can get your hands on one of these, great. Now you can see this one here is still a closed comb, but it's got actually these raised ridges. So it kind of almost is a cross between an open comb and a closed comb. But just a great shaver. But again, the angle on this is very much the same as with the Schick injector. And this was made by Schick as well. But very different from the single-edged and the double-edged razors. I don't believe they are making the Schicks anymore. They were making them up for a while in Japan, but I don't know of anybody making any modern versions of these anymore. I could be wrong. These are very, very long and a very long production. There was actually several companies for a while that were making them, as far as I know. PAL was one of them. Schick was another one. And so the Schick injectors is another great way to get involved with traditional wet shaving, and another option, and to provide you with a nice, comfortable shave, and kind of not shave like Grandpa did, but along those lines. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, coming into the hobby, I know that it's very, very overwhelming, the sheer number of choices when it comes to razors. And so hopefully some of this information will be helpful. Hopefully it's not totally wrong. If it is, let me know in the comments below, and I'll at least try to correct any errors that I've made. When it comes to razors, so much of it, again, in this hobby, I can't emphasize it enough how much of this is a your mileage may vary type hobby. And what works for me may not work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. It's a matter of finding out what works for you and then getting comfortable with it. I found that there is a little bit of a learning curve in this hobby, especially when you're coming into it, understanding, and we'll talk about some of the things to be aware of, and maybe things to avoid when coming into the hobby. But these again are some of the selections. You've got the modern safety razors that are being made by Maggard, Edwin Jagger. Trying to think some of the other ones. I know there's Merkur. I think Merkur makes some. You've got the Micro Touch that I think Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars is hawking. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. I haven't used it, but I think there are better razors out there for the same price point. The Matadors from Razor Blades and more. All great options and great places to start. But you can pick up these vintage Gillettes that are going to shave just as well as when they were made back in the early 1900s, and you can pick these up if at flea markets and antique shops for I bought them for $5, $8. Some of them you got to clean them up a little bit, but they still shave great. And so anyhow, that's kind of my spiel. The first day of my 12 days of shaving. Hopefully you'll find this helpful. If you've got any questions, again, put them in the comments below. I'll try to help you out. Or again, any comments, feedback, or anything that I was maybe a little bit wrong about. I definitely don't want to put misinformation out there. Again, I don't claim to be an expert. I've been involved in this hobby for about 2 years. There's guys that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. Guys that are way more down into the nitty gritty and can tell you about dates and all of that kind of stuff when it comes to the vintage razors. But hopefully for somebody that's coming into the hobby that's new to this will be helpful. And so this is Brian reporting live from my Shave Den, and wishing you all a Merry Christmas as it's coming up, and a Happy New Year. Goodbye.